Check, check. All right, I see some of you guys are already in here, and that's cool. But I am just setting things up right now, so if you give me a few, I will be right with you. Matter of fact, you should probably leave and come back in because I had to change some settings. So, yeah, that's what I would do. Check, check. All right, I see some of you guys are already in here. Yeah, that's what I would do. Can everybody let me know if you can hear me okay? Yeah, I know I have the video off. That's fine. Should be able to see me now, yeah? Just everybody let me know that everything is straight. That would be cool. Yes, sir. All right, what's up? What's up, Auntie Char? What's up, Fire King? What's up, James? Who else we got? Ryan is here. Cool. Yeah, we're very, very early, but I actually wanted to do a little setup. I wanted to go over a few things. If you don't know, we're going to be talking to a project called 3.0 DAO. And very briefly, what 3.0 DAO is they are they have a token, but it's a very unique project. I don't know how political you guys are, how much you know about super PACs. I did a video kind of about this earlier, a short one. And basically what 3.0 DAO is they are a super PAC that is run by the blockchain, and holding the 3.0 token gives you voting power as to what this super PAC can do, okay? And the whole goal of the whole thing is basically to try and fight over-regulation in Washington. And we're going to get into a lot of detail. I can tell everybody that's here right now, this is going to be a very long video. I'm already starting almost an hour early. These guys aren't coming until 5, but like I said, I wanted to do some setup. And I don't know how long we'll chat with them, but there's a lot to chat about. This is a very, very serious topic. In fact, I can tell you, I don't think I have done a more serious interview. I don't think I've done a more serious video. Every video that I've done has pretty much been, you know, about specific things, right? Whether it's about Shiba Inu or it's about LUNC or it's about Terror Rebels or whatever, okay? This is the only video that I've ever done, the only interview that I've ever done that affects the whole of the cryptocurrency market. Anyone involved in digital assets should be watching or should watch this video, because these regulations that are coming down affect everybody. Now, I did, some of you are aware, I had a I had another channel previous to this. I still have it, I just don't do much on it, but it's called Relationship Talk with Trev. And it was, you know, just about that. It was about different relationship things. But toward the end of it, I really started wanting to talk about some market stuff, stock stuff, and cryptocurrency stuff. So every once in a while, I would do a video on that YouTube channel about these things. And in March, the president came out with his executive order, basically releasing the government to check into cryptocurrency and report back on ways that it might be causing problems, or in a nutshell, regardless of how they worded it, he wanted them to go out and find ways to justify them regulating the hell out of it. Okay, that's all it really. That's my opinion, but whatever. That's really what it was about. All right, and it took them 6 months to put their report together, and not long ago another report came out. And we're going to go over it. Basically, spelling out all the problems that cryptocurrency could cause for the community, and basically giving the green light for the government to go ahead and start regulating. So what I want to do, and bear with, you can watch this if you want. If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. But I think it's a really good setup to going into this conversation with 3.0 DAO. I made this video back in March, before any of this was even going down, before I even had this channel, this video about this executive order and my opinion on it, and what exactly it was that they're trying to do. So I'm going to play it now, and it's gonna take up a little time, but if you can hang in and watch it, I think that you'll appreciate it, because you'll really understand what's going on from here on in for the rest of the evening when we have this conversation, okay? And I'm going to let it roll. I'm still going to be here, but we'll chat a little about it when it's over. Let me see if I can pull it up. Give me a second. The evening when we have this conversation, okay? And, guys, tell me if you can hear that. I'm still going to be here, but we'll chat a little about it when it's over. Let me see if I. All right. Just let me know. Just let me know if you were able to hear that. And that's not even. That's not what I wanted to pull up anyway. So. Here's what I wanted to pull up. Turn it up a little bit. Okay, Char. Yeah, let me know how well it's happening. Here's what we're gonna. No, that's not it. What's going on? It's not what I want to pull up. Oh, here it is. Okay. All right, here we go. Yeah, let me know how well it's happening.
Surpassing a $3 trillion market cap last November, and up from 14 billion just 5 years prior.
Okay.
Surveys suggest that around 16% of adult Americans, approximately 40 million people, have invested in, traded, or used cryptocurrency.
Yeah, let me know how well it's
over 100 countries are exploring or piloting central bank digital currencies. CBD's 14 billion just 5 years prior. Surveys suggest that around 16% of adult Americans.
Hold on, guys. I gotta fix this. Give me a second.
Or use cryptocurrency.
All right. That was a problem. All right. I'm sorry. We should be good now. That was dumb of me. All right. Here we go.
In the car, and I go in the house. They tell me, hey, you left your wallet behind. It's a lot of control. So something like this that is sold to be for our benefit, protect consumers, financial stability, national security, and address climate risks. Sounds good. What's really going on? I don't know. We'll see. All right. I know I'm ranting, right? This is going to be a longer one. So just, be prepared. Digital assets, including cryptocurrencies, have seen explosive growth in recent years, surpassing a $3 trillion market cap last November, and up from 14 billion just 5 years prior. Surveys suggest that around 16% of adult Americans, approximately 40 million people, have invested in, traded, or used cryptocurrencies. Over 100 countries are exploring or piloting central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, a digital form of a country's sovereign currency. Digital currency, cryptocurrency is growing, and it's growing in its usage. I think we've all probably at this point heard reports of how people in Ukraine, with all that they're going through right now, they haven't been able to access any of their fiat, any of their regular currency in their banks. And how they're getting by is using their crypto. They're making purchases and stuff with cryptocurrency if they have it. So it's, it's becoming more and more useful. And I think that the governments of the world are realizing that. Certainly the US government is realizing that. They're seeing the writing on the wall, where this is potentially going to challenge to some degree the US dollar, fiat currency. And they have no control over it so far. So let's go on. The rise in digital assets creates an opportunity to reinforce American leadership in the global financial system and at the technological frontier, but also has substantial implications for consumer protection, financial stability, national security, and climate risk. So they keep plugging away at that. Excuse me. The United States must maintain technological leadership in this rapidly growing space. All right, so tap into our desire to be, US #1 kind of thing. Supporting innovation while mitigating the risk for consumers, businesses, the broader financial system, and the climate. And it must play a leading role in international engagement, in global governance of digital assets, consistent with democratic values and US global competitiveness. Okay, all right, whatever. That is why today, President Biden will sign an executive order outlining the first ever whole of government approach to addressing the risks and harnessing the potential benefits of digital assets and their underlying technology. The order lays out a national policy for digital assets across 6 key priorities. And here they are: consumer and investor protection, financial stability, system and economic competitiveness, financial inclusion, and responsible innovation. Specifically, the executive order calls for measures to, and then there are several bullet points, okay? But they're pretty much already laid out that, from what I'm seeing, they just want to get in it. They want to control it. They want to make sure that it's not interrupting the system too much. Also a part of it, and they keep mentioning climate issues, and I think that's a message to those who are mining, because a lot has been made about how much energy consumption there is with mining crypto.
Even at 1.25 speed, it actually sounds better, I think.
And if you out there who are mining crypto, I think you can safely expect that there might be, some things coming down the pipe that might, curtail a little bit of what you're doing, some regulations that you're going to have to face. Hopefully they don't, totally shut you down, because I know a lot of people, they really rely on what they're mining. I mean, they've got huge systems. We've seen it in our Discord. It's impressive, but you got to be careful. All right, so first bullet point: protect U.S. consumers, investors, and businesses by directing the department. All right, I'm sorry, that's the bullet point. Protect U.S. consumers, investors, and businesses. Okay, by directing the Department of the Treasury and other agency partners to assess and develop policy recommendations to address the implications. Policy recommendations. Okay, so far right now, what they're saying is they want to recommend how this is done, but we know that'll change fast. Policy recommendations to address the implications of the growing digital asset sector and changes in financial markets for consumers, investors, businesses, and equitable economic growth. Fair economic growth. The order also encourages regulators to ensure sufficient oversight and safeguard against any systemic financial risks posed by digital assets. Well, if I'm reading that right, there it is, right? Digital assets, cryptocurrency could put a little bit of a dent or cause some problems with the government controlled and backed and insured US dollar, the fiat currencies of the world. And before that happens, and I think that they see that it's inevitable at this point, crypto isn't going away like some people suppose that it would. It was a Ponzi scheme, it was this, it was that. Before that happens, sufficient oversight and safeguards against any systemic financial risks posed by digital currency. They're jumping in it. There's going to be some regulations that some of us might not like. Okay, next bullet point. Protect US and global financial stability and mitigate systemic risk. I mean, that's basically, so this is a whole bullet point basically on that last sentence that we talked about, okay? So what are they going to do? By encouraging the Financial Stability Oversight Council to identify and mitigate economy-wide, i.e. systemic, financial risks posed by digital assets, and to develop appropriate policy recommendations to address any regulatory gaps. Regulatory gaps, in other words, anything we haven't thought of already, let's fill in those gaps and make sure that we get control of this thing so that cryptocurrency doesn't screw with the system that we have long enjoyed and have control over. I might be looking at it wrong, you know, maybe again, that's just my way, you know, but that's what it sounds like to me.
Not looking at it wrong.
Oh wait, where was I? Mitigate illicit, protect U.S. government. Yeah, okay. So the next one, mitigate the illicit finance and national security risks posed by the illicit use of digital assets. Yeah, I mean, a lot has been said about people using digital currencies, cryptocurrencies, for nefarious reasons, for illicit reasons. Drug cartels and the terrorist groups and all these things. Well, so like you see that they just the SWIFT network. I don't know all about it. I don't understand it. Very, airy kind of understanding I have about it. But the SWIFT network, I believe, was the network of banking, a huge banking system that was used in Russia, and they kind of put the kibosh on that, trying to prevent Russia from having access to their money. Okay, so that's a form of control, and where we all might agree that that's probably a good thing that they were able to do to Russia to try to curtail, this war that they've got going on for no apparent reason. What if everything was in place for cryptocurrency to just be just as valid a currency for doing business as fiat currency? But they didn't have control over it. It's decentralized. They wouldn't be able to put those kind of sanctions on people. And so, like I said, these terrorist groups, these different things where, they'll circumvent the regular ways of doing things with currency because, it can be tracked or whatever. Through the banking systems, and there's laundering, there's so many different things that are going to happen, but it seems like it's a lot easier for them to use cryptocurrencies. And the more usage, the more wide, usage there is for cryptocurrency, the easier it's going to be for them to do that. And so they want to put together some policies and get together some things that's going to curtail that. I'm okay with that. That makes sense. I'm just always worried about what's underneath of that. What's under that umbrella? What else are they going to be able to curtail that may not be illicit activity? That may be things that just we want to do, that interferes with what they want to do with US dollar or whatever. I don't know. So anyway, by directing an unprecedented focus of coordinated action across all relevant US government agencies to mitigate these risks, it also directs agencies to work with our allies and partners to ensure international frameworks, capabilities, and partnerships are aligned and responsive to risks. All right, so that's, it just kind of spells it out a little bit. They're going to be looking into that stuff and putting together some policies. All right, promote U.S. leadership in technology and economic competitiveness to reinforce U.S. leadership in the global financial system. Let me read that again. Promote U.S. leadership in technology and economic competitiveness to reinforce U.S. leadership in the global financial system. All right. By directing the Department of Commerce to work across the U.S. government in establishing a framework to drive U.S. competitiveness and leadership and leveraging of digital asset technologies. This framework will serve as a foundation for agencies and integrate this as a priority into their policy, research and development, and operational approaches to digital assets. Okay, so I don't know that I totally understand that. It sounds like what they want to do is, well, like it says, put together a framework where they can interact with digital currencies, with other countries. But they're trying to get at it first. They want to put the framework in place themselves. Again, control, right? I could have that wrong. I'm not sure that I totally understand that. But so somebody educate me on it. Promote equity. This is the next bullet point. Promote equitable access to safe and affordable financial services. Okay. By affirming the critical need for safe, affordable, and accessible financial services as a U.S. national interest that must inform our approach to digital asset innovation, including disparate impact risk. Okay. Such safe access is especially important for communities that have long had insufficient access to financial services. The Secretary of the Treasury, working with all relevant agencies, will produce a report on the future of money and payment systems to include implications for economic growth, financial growth, and inclusion, national security, and the extent to which technological innovation may influence that future. I mean, what comes to mind to me is, obviously Black communities or some other minority communities who haven't had so easy a time with the current financial system, accessing loans and different things. And so, I mean, how genuine is this? It feels like them using that a little bit to kind of gain favor, as if they're, doing something good for those communities. But what is it ultimately going to be? Maybe it is. Maybe it is trying to work out ways that they have greater access through digital currencies to do some of the things that we want to do. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Support technological advances and ensure responsible development and use of digital assets. That's the next bullet point. Support technological advances and ensure responsible development and use of digital assets. By directing the U.S. government to take concrete steps to study and support technological advances in the responsible development, design, and implementation of digital asset systems while prioritizing privacy, security, combating illicit exploitation, and reducing negative climate impacts. So they're going to do all these studies. They're going to put together all these reports, and you won't know it, and they'll hide it. So very conspiracy theory, but this is just what I've noticed that they do. These reports, some of them, they may have an agenda before they even do the study. It's not a study necessarily always to find out what the actuality is or what the reality is. They do these studies with an agenda in mind, and they're just doing the study to prove what it is, to prove the outcome that they want, to prove that things are the way that they say. And we did a study, and this is what we found. And so we're going to write this report on it. And in the report, we're going to talk about how, we've got to take control of this because this is what's happening. This is just what I see going down. This is what I see happening. This is just planting the seed. So when they make all these changes, they can say, yeah, we told you, we were studying it, boy. We really wanted to find out what was going on. We wanted to make it equitable for everyone. And, this is the way we've got to do it. And then they just take control of it. Anyway, all right, there's not much more of this. Explore a U.S. central bank digital currency, CBDC. I'm going to say that again. Explore a U.S. central bank digital currency, CBDC. It has an acronym, so it's important, right? Here we go. By placing urgency on research and development,
this is the most important part.
United States CBDC, central bank digital currency, should issuance be deemed in the national interest. They're doing it. They're gonna do it. Plain and simple. The order directs the U.S. government to assess the technological infrastructure and capacity needs for a potential US CBDC in a manner that protects Americans' interest. Selling it, just selling it. It's gonna benefit the government interest of controlling this thing and maybe even finding a way to make some money on it themselves. The order also encourages the Federal Reserve to continue its research, development, and assessment efforts for a US CBDC, including development of a plan for broader US government action in support of their work. Really? You mean the Democrats are expanding government, adding on another agency? Really? I'm not a Republican. I'm not even, I'm not a Republican by any means. And I voted Democratic a lot, but I recognize, let's have an agency for this. Let's have an agency for that. I mean, it's ridiculous. So anyway, where was I? I lost my place. Order also encourages the Federal Reserve to continue its research, development, and assess its efforts for a U.S. CBDC, including development of a plan for broader U.S. government action in support of their work. This effort prioritizes U.S. participation in multi-country experimentation and ensures U.S. leadership internationally to promote CBDC development that is consistent with U.S. priorities and democratic values. So, again, please correct me if I'm wrong in the way that I'm interpreting this, right? But it sounds to me like just the way we have a banking system, right, for the US dollar, that they're talking about putting together a whole system for digital assets, for cryptocurrency. And I guess when they say digital assets, are they including NFTs?
Yes.
Probably. I mean, the whole schmear, right? They're going to want to control it all. They're going to put together a system in which they can use to do commerce, right? So here's my thought. Right now, I mean, I don't even know how many different cryptos there are out there. There's new ones popping up every day, and everyone that comes up is the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? This is going to be the next blah, 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 blah. There's tons of them. So what if they put together this system and it's a centralized banking governmental system, and they say in this system, what we are going to use, what's going to be part of the system is Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and Shiba Inu. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, let's say that they choose specifically what coins or what tokens are going to be part of this system. And everything else, they've already said that they're going to find ways to regulate and to control the development of. I just see that if that happens, it's a way of limiting severely what cryptocurrencies are then considered legitimate, and just regulating the other ones into the ground so they can never take hold. I don't know. I hate to think that that's what's going on, but that's just what it sounds like to me. And time will tell. All right, so they wrap it up with, the administration will continue work across agencies and with Congress to establish policies that guard against risk and guide responsible innovation. What's responsible? Responsible according to what they think is responsible, right? Who says we're not being responsible? Who says the people that are creating cryptocurrencies already aren't being responsible? I mean, we know some of them are garbage, but we know that. We can see which ones are. I don't like this. Okay. With our allies, the administration will continue to work across agencies and with Congress to establish policies that guard against risk and guide responsible innovation. With our allies and partners to develop aligned international capabilities that respond to national security risks, and with the private sector to study and support technological advances in digital assets. And that's how they wrap this up. But all of them, right? All of the digital assets, and they're going to work with the private sector to support technological advances of everyone who decides to, build a coin or a token and take advantage of this free system that we have where, isn't regulated, is decentralized, or are they just going to take their pet ones, and work with those? I don't know. I don't feel good about this. I know some people think it's a great idea. With my, maybe my mind can be changed about it. My mind can be changed about it if I'm just not understanding this right. So if I'm not understanding it right, let me know. Leave a comment.
All right. Yeah, that's enough of that. It's pretty much the end of it anyway. Um, it really seems like I was absolutely understanding it right. Um, that video was recorded again back in March, before I had this channel, before we knew anything about anything that's gone on recently. Okay, and a few things have happened, and I want to talk to the 3O guys about it because I'm sure they have more information than I do. But I think it might have been maybe even Ryan, if you're in the chat, I think you might have said something about, we talked about Canada, and Canada, I believe maybe only in certain sections of Canada, they've already started implementing some restrictions where you can only buy like Bitcoin and Ethereum as much as you want, but like anything else, they put some sort of limit on it as far as how much of it you can buy per year. There's something that just is going on in Australia. And again, I'm going to get into that with the 3O guys too. In Australia has a white paper released on how they're going to regulate cryptocurrency and how they're going to put in place these CBDCs, okay? The central bank digital currency, right? And even the way that they word it is to try to soften it for everybody. Okay. Central bank digital currency, instead of saying digital currency banks, right? They switch it around a little bit and make it sound maybe a little softer than what it is. And again, this is all for me. This is all, I'm reading it and trying to figure it out as I go, but it does not sound good at all. And when I came across these 3O guys, 3O DAO guys, started reading into what they're doing, it confirmed my worst fears. Okay. This cryptocurrency stuff, the regulations for cryptocurrency are coming way faster than anybody thinks, way faster. In fact, we're not at the beginning of them checking this stuff out. We're probably at the end of it. They probably checked all this stuff out already, figured out exactly what they want to do, how they want to do it, what regulations they want to put in place. And now we're in the phase of them rolling it out to the public and kind of assimilating us to the new way. Okay. But 3O DAO has some ways that they're trying to fight that. So if you guys got to give me a couple minutes, because I've got to send the link to this Zoom meeting to the 3O guys and to a couple people so that they can join this meeting and we can have this interview. All right. So in the meantime, if you could just chat amongst yourselves, just give me a couple minutes and I will be right back to you. All right. Thanks for being here. Hit the like button if you could. Tweet out, that we're doing this, whatever you want to do. And I appreciate it. All right. I'll be right back. Okay, I just got a message from my 3.0 DAO guy, and he says he'll be joining in a minute. I also sent the link to Mr. Duncan Gray, who actually is also associated with these guys. You might know him from the Lunatics Token project, and he's become a bit of a friend. We speak often, and being that he's involved with these guys, I invited him to come on and chit chat with us a little bit. I'm just meeting these guys for the first time, and I'm not even sure if it's one or two of them. I know that the name of one of them is Trust Me, I'm a Doctor. That's his name on TG. And from what I understand, he actually is a real doctor. So I'm not going to be able to call him Trust Me, I'm a Doctor on here. So hopefully he'll give me his real name. And we will take it from there. But he should be joining any minute now. Yeah, Ryan, Char's in Matt's Discord. We've seen her. You haven't seen her in there? She's been in there for a while. She's obviously in the live with us every single morning. I've come to call her Auntie Char because she looks like she should probably be in my family anyway. All right, we're just hanging out and wait until these guys jump in. It's 3 minutes. I guess they got 3 minutes. I like it when people join a little earlier just to make sure that the audio and the video is happening. But you know, things happen. All right, I'll be right back. No, Char, I was telling George to check his DM in Discord because I was trying to get either him or our buddy Crypto Dream to actually join this live chat with me because they're both really good at monitoring the chat for me. I anticipate that I'm going to be very much concentrated on on what we're talking about and on my guest. And I haven't gotten real good yet at doing that and going to the chat because as soon as I go to the chat, I'm not paying attention to what my guest says, and then I feel like an idiot. You know, they just said something, I didn't even hear it. So I was wanting one of those guys to come in and give me a hand to monitor the chat, and if there were any good questions, kind of bring it in and let us know. Unfortunately, they are both on a well. George is here, but he's in his pajamas, so it's like 11 o'clock at night or something where he is, and Matt is working. So we're just going to do the best we can. I apologize to you guys if I don't get to the chat as much as I would love to get to the chat, but we'll do our best. Either way, I really appreciate you guys being here. I really do. Anybody that's just coming in, if you could hit the like button for us. For me, I'd appreciate that. And we're just waiting for our 3.0 DAO pals or pal to join us, and we will be getting started. I'm about to dial in, but give me 5 minutes to get out of bed. Sorry, George. I know I should have talked to you about this earlier, but I kind of just thought of it. So I appreciate you, George. I really do. You're going to go get dressed, probably get a glass of champagne if I know George. I'll get you one uno momento. And here is Dr. Randy R.
Make sure, yeah.
Hit you, sir.
There we go. There we go.
And now I see you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Very nice to meet you. I'm well. I've actually been on for, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes or so, doing a little prep for this meeting. I haven't done an interview yet, or a video yet that I think is as important as this one's going to be. I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. So I appreciate you being here. I really do.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you had me on. You know, I know that we've been talking back and forth from afar. So
yeah, it's sometimes in between people, right?
Right, exactly.
Randy, if I can call you Randy.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the chat? Let everybody know who you are, and then we'll get into some stuff.
All right, perfect. So, you can probably find me on my website, everything at 30dao.com. But I am Randy Romick, and I am one of the co-founding members of 30dao. And we kind of came together back when it was still a nice bull market. Some of you probably still remember that, a long time ago, right? But we came together when we started seeing, actually one of the first reasons we came together was we heard Senator, I don't know if you guys know it, but I think he's actually a House member, but Brad Sherman had joined on with a crypto back in December called Mongoose. And one of the issues that we had with him was that he was anti-DeFi, but was kind of, trying to collect funding, do that kind of thing through, organization through there. And so we kind of felt like that was, just wrong. And so a few of us got together and we came up with the idea to kind of put together this concept for 30dao. And that's where we kind of, ran with it from there. We're kind of in an opportunity right now with just internet, everything like that, where you could figure out how to lobby, you could figure out what that looks like, what pieces you need, how to set up all the businesses, how to get all the IRS approvals and everything. And so we went through kind of that whole cycle. And so one of the big key aspects with 3.0 when we started working with it is what can we do to actually get out there and actively benefit the Web3 community, DeFi, all of that. And one of the first things we saw was, of course, regulations were starting to come up and the policy talks were starting to come up. And then I saw your video earlier about the executive order back in March, and then the government started doing stuff for us to make it a little bit easier for us to come around. And so, yeah, we've built out a lot of that. My background before this, I was a professor, I still teach online, but I'm a professor in higher education. I've been an administrator in higher education. I've been doing, I don't want to admit this, too much, right? But I have XRP, back when it was under 20 cents and back when it was over $3. So, you can see that 2016, 17, before all the SEC stuff and everything kind of came through. Yeah. So I've been doing DeFi for a while. I think my views on crypto probably align with a lot of people that will be viewing this or will be here, or probably even yours. I love what it brings. I like the decentralization aspect of it. I like that people have become more educated within it. We ever used to think you could just be hidden. You were secret. No one would ever know that it was you. And we know, hey, this is actually transparent. And that, all it takes is knowing that you can see everything on there. You can see the blockchain. If someone knows your wallet, they know it's you, that kind of thing. But that also comes with some dangers. If the wrong people get a hold of that wallet address, then they, of course, know that that's you, and they can kind of track everything that you've done from there. And that's kind of where we have come in with 3.0 and really kind of pushing our mission is really trying to protect users, protect user privacy, protect those non-custodial wallets. So that way, we're not all, no assets can be seized or held against us. And so we've kind of built from there and kind of expanded from there. We coordinate with 2 lobbies in DC. We have a super PAC that we have set up that works with basically, is working more with the lobby side, kind of funding collection, everything like that. And then we have 2 nonprofit organizations that kind of operate in partnership with 3.0 DAO, which are a 501c4, which is what you have to use for active lobbying. That's actually how our lobbies work with us, is they work through the 501c4, and then we work with that partnership, and then a 501c3, which is an education nonprofit. And that's a little bit further down the road, but that's something that we're wanting to start to build out there, is to kind of create this Web3 DeFi education, opportunity. I think a lot of people, even in a conversation I had yesterday, and I'm sure we'll talk about it today, but securities and commodities, a lot of people don't even know what the differences with those are, or what's that about. And so, educating people on why that's dangerous, why those are things that we don't want our tokens, we don't want our coins, we don't want our alts, we don't want anything to kind of be wrapped up into that if we can avoid it. And so kind of building all that out. So we really spent a lot of time building up that infrastructure. So that way, as we grew, as the mission became more and more important, as we knew the government would push forward, more and more people would take notice, we'd have all the pieces in place to hit the ground running, because the last thing you want to do is try to catch up in that kind of area. So
yeah, right.
A long explanation.
It used to, no, I appreciate that. No, that's awesome. It gives us a lot to go on. So there used to be this this thought that the blockchain was absolutely secure. Right. Nobody could track what you were doing on the blockchain. That's not really true, is it?
No, not at all. And what it does is it does provide you with that anonymity, because you can make a MetaMask, or you can make a trust wallet any day, and nobody knows that that's your new trust wallet, or knows that's your new MetaMask. But one of the things that I really like about a blockchain is its transparency, because I think a lot of our financial systems, I mean, what happens when you put your money in the bank?
What happens when I put my money in the bank?
Yeah, you don't know.
I take it back out to pay bills.
Right. They show that you have money in the account. But if me and you and 10,000 other people went to the bank and said, "Hey, I need my money," they don't have our money. It's been shipped somewhere else. What I liked about the blockchain, I liked about DeFi, is I know exactly, hey, I know this transaction happened here. This is where this money went. And then I can see, oh, this went here, or this went here, or somebody moved this over there. You can kind of see that transparency there. And I think that within our banking systems, like, we have no idea where this money is going, or where they're using it, or how they're using it. And so I think one of the awesome parts about of the DeFi system is that we can track that, so we can see what happens. But it also requires, people have to be, what it would really ultimately do, I think, down the future is, make us all have to be, as businesses and as organizations, more transparent with our community and with our people that we're working with, because you can track it, you can see what's happening, you can see the votes, you can see the different really just transactions throughout. You can see, did I buy this NFT or did I not buy that NFT, kind of thing. So there's not really a lot that can be hidden there. So,
Randy, I'm sorry not to surprise you, but this is George. He's a buddy of mine, and the only reason he's here basically is because I really want to focus on what you and I are talking about. Mm-hmm. But we're also live on YouTube, and there's a lot of people in the chat who probably have questions.
Yeah.
So what George is going to do for us is he's just going to monitor the chat, and if there are some good questions, we'll go to him and see if the chat has something that they want to ask that you can address, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Randy. All right.
Hey, George, how are you?
George, Randy, George. All right. So yeah, earlier, actually, what I was doing with the chat is I was going over that video that I had made actually on a totally different channel about the executive order. And we were talking about how it's only been 6 months.
Yep.
And was that the deadline that Biden gave for these different agencies to come back to him anyway? Was it 6 months? Because it seems very fast.
Yeah. So generally, as it was explained to us, actually, you had to submit your comments by August 1st, or 7th. Maybe it was 1st or the 7th, whatever. Which one? I think one of them lined up as being a Monday. So we submitted our comments through the lobby for the executive order, what our thoughts and everything were from there. But yeah, basically they gave you that window from March until August to come through and put in your recommendations. Now there were a couple groups. You saw the Treasury, that a few that were kind of doing a study on the side and seeing what they could add, or what they could find through researching and kind of finishing up that. But yeah, for the most part, what you're seeing there with the fact sheet, for most part, most of that had to come in from any of the outside groups within like August, and then they put this all together and kind of probably explained it through there. And so yeah, it had to come in pretty quickly. We had to basically draw up our response so that with the lobby and working with them, that they could organize it and put it in whatever format we needed, so it would be ready to go by mid-July.
So I want to get into how 3.0 DAO plans to kind of I don't know if fight is the word. I mean, I'm really not sure where you actually stand on regulations. Are they good? Are they bad? Are some good? Are some bad? I want to get into that stuff, but first I wanted to ask you, what kind of regulations are we looking at? What does this actually open us up to, and what should we expect coming down the pipe?
Yeah. So sadly, when you're reading through the whole thing, it's really going to open it up to a lot of different places. We're going to have to deal with the kind of the CFTC plus the SEC. They're going to have to figure out how they're going to function and what the functions they're going to have within this. But first and foremost, from the fact sheet, what they're really talking about is really trying to branch digital assets into, and how they tend to promote it for us is creating more adoption and get it available to more and more people within the what we would say normal people within the system. So a lot of what they're talking about within there, you'll see a lot of discussions around CBDCs, so central bank digital currencies. Stable coins is a really big one right now, and not to scare anybody or get anybody worried or anything like that, but really, if you look at kind of what it is on the outlay, they're picking and choosing the on ramps and off ramps first, because if we all have to put it into fiat money for it to go into our bank account, so that I can go to the, just I use the example all the time, and I don't even like Ford, but I go to the Ford dealership, like I can't use a cryptocurrency and buy a Ford right now, right? But if I take the money that I've made and put it in to my bank account, I can go to the Ford dealership and use that money to buy a truck, right? Well, they're going to look at it, or they're looking at it as, how do I take my money from Ethereum, from 3.0, from whatever token it is, and then get it to my bank account? Well, normally I'm going to have to go through a stable coin, or I'm going to have to go through some way to basically transfer that over. Now, we of course know I can go through Ethereum and blah, blah, blah on like crypto.com and stuff. But that's kind of where they're at, is going after the on-ramps. You'll also see some discussions about what an exchange is in there. And if you guys have read the Lummis-Gillibrand bill, they classified every exchange is an exchange. So your DEXs are exchanges, your swaps are exchanges, and your big ones, your Coinbases, your Binances, things like that are going to be your big exchanges. But the reason that they're classifying them like that is so that there really isn't an off-ramp for you to escape off there without them going through there. Now, some of the discussion that I think with CBDCs we'll have to talk about and kind of have to see where they're at is are these going to be used simply as a back-end bank transaction, type of function, or are they going to become used, which I've heard kind of in Europe, and I've heard some of the things like that, they're going to actually be used with the public. And so therefore, if they set it up to where you have to cash everything out through the CBDC, then they can, once you do that the first time, they can follow that blockchain all the way back and check every transaction that you've made.
Because now they have your wallet address, right?
Yeah, between here and there. And so that's really where the concern is. And that's kind of where we're at. And I wouldn't even say fighting, like you said, we're more advocate. We go with advocating is what we use the word, and what that really just means is that we're politically arguing for, or politically fighting for, but advocating just sounds so much nicer, right? And so what we're really doing is advocating for fair rules to users, because if you look at the groups right now that are lobbying on behalf of Web3 and DeFi, I bet you guys can guess the top three just from what you've probably read everywhere. So you'd say Coinbase, FTX, and you have Kraken in there, and Binance are in there. Binance isn't doing as much in the United States right now, but those are going to kind of be the big three that are going through now. Kraken right now, they're trying to kind of fight a little bit more, kind of more of what we'd see on our side, what we would like as users, and what we'd see as business operators using Web3 kind of as that side of kind of the new internet, or really what I believe it'll be, and you can feel free to steal this, anybody out there, but it's really kind of bringing about a new industrial revolution. When you really think about like what that entails, it's going to be a whole new system. Like when you think the internet really brought in a new industrial kind of revolution for us, you can go back and you can find articles in 1994 where they made fun of the internet, oh, this isn't going to last, blah, blah, blah. And now we can't, people can't even get on their phone and do anything without having it. So I think that's where you're going to see Web3 going. And so it's really kind of us and a few other groups, but they tend to be more isolated into specific, like there's a few that I know that are like Bitcoin mining groups, trying to protecting Bitcoin miners, kind of protecting Bitcoin only. There's a couple other advocacy groups that I know of that are dealing like maybe specifically with just DAOs, or dealing specifically with certain types of tokens. But we're trying to kind of overarch for everything, because we kind of see where this is going and how this is going to spill over. And so as we build more and more people, and more people get behind the message and get behind the advocacy side of it, which is where we kind of struggle right now, is getting people to get it past the apathy that they have. Oh, there's nothing I can do. The government's just going to do this. Well, I mean, we can look throughout the United States, we can look throughout Europe, and we can look, in a lot of places throughout the world that grassroots campaigns can work. You just have to have the voices of the people behind you. And then, of course, over time, funding comes in, and then boom, next thing you know is they want to sit down and listen to you, and they want to kind of have that. And so what we're really trying to do at first is really educate politicians. When we first sat down, I can still remember this meeting. It was back in March when we first sat down with the lobby, which is FS Vector, which is a financial technology a lobby. They're the main ones that kind of consult for us on the DeFi side for up in DC. They were telling us that no more than 3 years ago, you were talking about having senators and congressmen and women that were walking around with Blackberries. When was the last time any of us used a Blackberry? And so they're talking about, and what they're implying is that they're so far behind in the technological advances that they don't really understand what this market is, how it functions, or anything of that nature. Really, what they kind of see is, okay, well, let's just make it like the stock market. Because we understand the stock market. The stock market's been around for 250 years, so we know how that works. So we'll just mirror that and change this market over to here. You've probably seen senators making comments about, why can't we just stop them from getting Bitcoin? Why can't we just take it from them? Well, that's not how it works. Right. You have others. Brad Sherman's my favorite. He actually came out last week and said that all crypto is a gigantic meme. And everything like that. And so, when you're thinking about it, it's like, no, it's kind of past all of that. Maybe in 2010 or 2011, we could have said that, or I guess right after Bitcoin came out, but not anymore. And I think that's kind of where they're at. And so what our first goal was kind of educate them on that. And then our second goal is really bringing the voice of, we want to bring the voice of projects. We want to bring the voice of people, users. We want to bring the voice of entire communities. So, any communities that you're involved with or anybody else is watching, feel free. We're always happy to come talk to your community. We're happy to do AMAs with you and kind of express what the impact can be for everybody, because I think educating everybody and kind of teaching everybody about what this could look like versus what it looks like now is really, really important. And then on the actual advocacy side is explaining to them what type of benefits this has. One of our biggest messages, and you'll read it within our website and everything like that, is we don't want to stifle innovation. This is an opportunity, especially if you look across, really across the entire space. We have new businesses that are popping up every day. Granted, some are in the form of tokens, and some of them have great ideas. Some of them have, not so great ideas. And that's part of the space. And that's kind of part of the capitalist side of it is good ones are going to move forward. Bad ones are going to be stopped and, ultimately go under. And then it's going to move forward from there. And then someone's either going to fill in that gap or someone's going to, build off of what the original idea was in a better way. But what we're really looking to do is really protect it. And then we actually would like to see the United States be more of a leader and less of a barrier. You've already seen some places are kind of taking on that leadership role by doing certain things. Like, right now we all know Dubai is the crypto capital of the world and where everybody wants to go and do their crypto thing. But it's because their rules are favorable for that. Well, why can't the United States do that? There's no reason besides either saying, hey, we don't want you guys to all have money, or, are coming out of the side of it of, oh, we're worried about your protection. But really what we're saying is we need to make sure that your big groups get in here first, so that way we can, sort it out and move through that.
So in a nutshell, Randy, where are you guys on? So do you think that we should just try to advocate for no regulation at all, or do you think some level of regulation is probably good for the community? Exactly where are you on that?
Yeah. Well, what we know is that all of us want mass adoption. Every person in the space should want mass adoption because the more people that come in, the more money comes in, and the more money you make for being early. Great for you. Pat yourself on the back here on the ground room floor. But where we are is we understand regulations are going to have to be there. What we're really interested in is what those regulations are. So for me and this is my personal view. This is not a 3.0 DAO view necessarily, but my personal view is that you shouldn't be taxed until it's turned into a currency that you can use. And so there shouldn't really be a tax on Ethereum. There really shouldn't. It's almost like I look at it like an IRA, you know, like as long as the money's in there until you're 59 and a half, you can trade, you can do whatever you want anytime you want, and there's no penalty unless you pull it out early, then there's a 10%. Well, I think with crypto, it really should be, you know, no penalty, no taxes, no nothing until you pull it into fiat, because that's the only time you can use it is from there. Where we stand from 3.0 is we understand regulations are going to happen. In a perfect world, they leave it alone. And I think that's what we understand. And that's what a lot of our community would like to hear. And that's what a lot of the partnering groups that we've been talking with would like. We understand, but everybody understands that's not feasible. There are going to be some regulations there. What we really want to do is monitor what they are and then help shape them in a way that's going to benefit new organizations trying to move into the Web3 space, and then protect users within the Web3 space. Because one of the last things, and before all crypto and everything like that, I traded stocks and I do that kind of stuff too. For a little fun on the side, a little hobby here. But, you know, one of the things that you hear and why, you know, GameStop and why AMC took off so much is because it was unfair. And what everybody's saying, oh, this is unfair, right? Well, we don't want crypto to become unfair either, to where, you know, a large group of hedge funds basically manage everything. Everything's run on an algorithm, and you know, your chances of winning are very, very slim. And so that's really what we're here for, is looking at the regulations that they're bringing and finding ways to interject what the community's saying, what our community's saying, what communities around us are saying into these, so that we can get that kind of view and understanding of this is actually what the people want, as opposed to this is what the stock market looks like, and this is kind of how that goes.
Yeah. All right. I got you. All right. Let's if we can, let's talk about the actual functionality of 3.0, exactly how it works. Now, there's a token. Mm-hmm. You know, let's get into the super PAC aspect of it. I'll just let you roll with it and kind of explain from the beginning for everybody, so they understand what exactly 3.0 DAO is.
All right, cool. So what 3.0 DAO token is basically a funding mechanism, just like, you know, most tokens are, to basically help us pay for the lobbying, pay for the things that are going to go through to advocate for the space. But what it also is a governance token. And for those that have worked in a DAO or been around a DAO, you understand that each token provides you with a governance or a vote on initiatives and things like that. And so our big thing is really is the more holders we get, the more people that are buying tokens, the greater impact we can have on advocating, not just from the funding side, but really from the governance side, because we can get a holistic view of what people really believe, what people are really behind, and what they value. We go through and we vote on just like a normal DAO would, with snapshot and everything like that. And what that allows the users to do, and we'll put together, we put together different, you know, things that they'll go through. They'll vote through like our policy principles. We'll see if we need to amend those. We will put through language, things like that are going to go in documents. We have, we're setting up and still kind of building out the scale that basically measures how much or how for or against a politician is within your area, all the way broken down, all the way down to your state level, with Web3 and kind of their views based off of blockchain voting and the things that they've done. And then as policy discussions come up, we actually are a leader within it's newly forming. So we are organizing, helping these guys organize a DAO coalition for the United States, where it's basically a collection of right now we have about 32 DAOs that are in there, where we're going to simultaneously work with them to help create policy that's going to benefit organizations and businesses that are working within there. But really what we're trying to do is get in front of these politicians, get in front of the senators, get in front of the congressmen, their staffers is really a big way to get in, to have that conversation about this. And what users really want is kind of bringing that voice to them. And that's where our lobbies have been really, really beneficial to us. We have a strategic communication lobby that we work with. And then we have the fintech lobby that we work with. And so through coordinating with both of them, we're able to bring our message to actual staffers through the connections they've had. All of our lobbyists that we have that are working with us about, you know, dozens and dozens of years of experience on the Hill. They have a lot of connections within that. And that's kind of where that back in, you know, closed door. We don't see it every day in the public. That's really what happens is these lobbies go in there and they talk to these senators, they talk to these congressmen, and they don't do anything, illegal or illicit. They just say, hey, we want to have this conversation with you. Here's what we're hearing. Here's what we're seeing. Here's what's coming through users, blah, blah, blah. And so they go through and have that conversation with them. Once you purchase, like I said, with 3.0, you have that governance vote. You become part of the community, and then you'll be able to participate and vote in the DAO vote. We have just set up our Prioritization Council. So what that basically is a 9-member team that is kind of, the best way to put it is like our execution group. So basically they make sure that everything's executed. So the will of the DAO will basically be executed. It doesn't matter what my personal opinion is. It doesn't matter what, anybody on even the 9-person, if the DAO says, if the 1,000 people that we have come in and say, we want this, then we're going to go champion that. And I think that that's an important aspect of it, because we're trying to bring, the reason why we chose a DAO was, what is a more democratic way to do something than go through and actually get the vote from there. And one step that we took to even, and if you read the white papers and you go through that we even took to make it another level, is that all of our votes for governance are 1-to-1 based off of your wallet. So every wallet has one vote. And the reason that we did that is because we didn't want people that, got in early or got in at certain times to have, easily being able to outvote somebody that, let's say, gets in 6 months from now, and we could see that could have some influence, or certain people can kind of influence what happens. That was a big negative we had seen. So 1-to-1 is pretty much the most democratic way we can. We lock it in on the blockchain, as we talked about, that's transparency. So we're able to see it. And that really, really allows us to really show what the will of the people really is at that time. And so that's kind of where we're at with the governance side of it. If they read through, you can check out our meetings. We have an advocacy program within our own DAO, basically, where people can take on different initiatives or different kind of goals, and they can ask for, basically to be reimbursed with 3.0 token. And it'll go through a normal vote. If the DAO votes, so that's something that they want to see happen for sake of our advocacy campaigns, people can earn it there. So what you'll see is that as we kind of move forward more and more, that governance vote will be something that will be actively used all the time. So,
I'm not a huge political guy. I do pay attention during election season.
Right.
and then after that, my interests kind of go elsewhere. But for anybody who is not familiar, and I can't imagine anybody's not familiar, a super PAC, and Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I'm not, a big political guy, but a super PAC is usually put together by maybe some big corporation or group of people, right? Who are trying to, they can put as much money as they want into the super PAC to try to support their candidate, or the candidate that represents their ideals and, their positions, right? And because I believe there are limitations on the candidates themselves, their campaign can only raise so much money. Right. So if a big corporation comes in and puts together millions and billions of dollars and wants to support this candidate, as long as they're not directly affiliated, they can do that. And that's basically how they buy elections. Do I have that pretty much right?
So you can't, so with the super PAC, you cannot fund directly to the candidate, but you can fund for causes that candidate would champion. Okay. And that's why what you'll see with your political ads, it'll start running, probably either running depending on what state you're in. I'm in Virginia, so we've had a few, but you'll see that generally what they do is they'll run political ads, they'll run political campaigns that'll basically go through and push for certain views or certain sides of that. Whatever it is. With how ours works is ours is directed towards basically our funding will be used for education, and then used for as simple as it sounds, is pretty much used for advertising and getting in the right places to kind of really advocate on behalf of the Web3 community, support Web3 candidates. Of course, like I said, that's not direct. It would basically be supporting causes that they have, or supporting different initiatives that they're working on through that. But yeah, that's really what it's about. And one of the big things about the super PAC and why it's a pretty interesting concept is that you can collect as much money as you like. There's no limit on a super PAC. Like, if you could collect, essentially, Elon Musk could give every dime that he has, and that super PAC could be the richest, group in the world, if that's what he so chose to do. Yeah, and so when you start to see that how they're collecting money, they're bringing that in. A lot of times, that's where the big money comes in, is from the big donors that go and donate through the super PACs, and then for certain initiatives and everything like that.
Right. So, and these super PACs, let's say you wanted to donate to a super PAC, and you give your money to this super PAC. Once your money's gone to them, you don't really have any control or say over how they spend it or what they do with it exactly. The difference that I seem to be reading with 3.0 DAO is with holding this 3.0 governance token. The community kind of has a say or a vote in exactly how this money is spent. And you say, now you've put together the council. Now, I guess my question is, and you also have this rating system,
Right.
Regarding lawmakers and maybe how they've voted in the past and how likely they are to vote kind of pro cryptocurrency, right?
Right.
Or right. And so who puts together the proposal? Like, who submits the proposal to the holders of 3.0 to say, okay, this is what we're thinking about doing. Let's vote on it. Can I, as a holder of 3.0, can I submit a proposal and everybody vote on it, or does that come from the committee?
Oh, no. So right now, with how it would come from, as we progress and we get a little bit further down the road, right now it's open to anybody that's a holder within 3.0. So, as long as you hold, I believe the number is 100 million 3.0, you can submit a proposal. It'll come through our proposal side. The council will see what can and can't be done. Like, someone comes on and says, I want to take every token that's available for 3.0, of course the council is going to deny that. But if someone say, this is an initiative that I think that we should look into, or this is something that we should go to protect, goes to the council. If the council finds that it's doable, we put it forward to the DAO, not to the PAC, but to the DAO. And then they vote. And so that's kind of where we're at with that. That could potentially, it will potentially change in the future. So what we're going to do is it'll end up being our top 100 holders of tokens would basically go through, and you just submit to them, and then they would submit it through the group. So you just would connect with someone that would be a top 100 holder, someone, a leader in the community. Most likely, if you're a top 100 holder, you're probably going to be a leader in the community. And so therefore, they would go through and submit it. And then again, the big point for our prioritization council is really more to judge, is the idea possible? Is the cost fair? And then from there, is it something that we can execute? If all those things are yes, then we send it to the DAO, and the DAO can kind of vote as they see fit within that. And then once they vote, since we know it was something that could be executed, that's what we work on as the team of 9, is basically go through and make sure that it gets executed properly, transparently update the community as it's getting done, and then that's follow through all the way from we're more than happy to show even what we'd say a CFI, receipts of, hey, this is where this money went. This is where, we donated it here, we put it there. This was the campaign we backed, to that kind of thing. Because what we're really big on is we want to keep it as transparent as possible with everybody. But yeah, so they basically be able to come right in. Right now you can submit, but as we grow, more and more people can come through, and then you'll go through those top 100 and they'll submit on your behalf, and boom, that's how it kind of runs forward. Now, if there's always the leeway, within any kind of DAO, there's always that leeway that if, 5,000 members say we want to do this, and they don't, and not one of those 5,000 is in the top 100, then we'll probably pick that up anyways as the council, because we're going to keep our ear to the ground and keep our ear to what's actually going on within the community. And so, yeah, that will be brought forth too. So it doesn't necessarily have to do that, but that's kind of the plan, to keep it a little more organized. So that way we just don't have 20,000 proposals pop in every other day for different things. So,
yeah. It is a very innovative and unique system. I've never heard of anything like it, and I really like it, because I'll tell you what, I'm scared to death And I'm not, I really am. I'm scared to death. I'm very protective of my money.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And when I invest in any sort of digital asset, a cryptocurrency, NFT, whatever it is I'm going to buy, I want it protected. I want it safe. I want it to grow. There's a lot of things that I want to happen. And as I keep reading about, not only in this country, but in other countries, different policies and restrictions that are being put in place. Canada with the limitations they came out with recently. We just got the white paper from Australia on this, right? This stuff is happening now. It's not one of those things where let's start talking about it, like climate change or something. They say, oh, it's never. No, this is actually happening right now, like climate change, right?
Yes.
And so I'm scared to death about that. And so I know that there are lawmakers in Washington who are very much for regulating this, for putting these CBDCs in place and whatever else that they can do, because they're scared on that side too. Yep. They're afraid that the decentralization of cryptocurrency, digital assets, could challenge the system that they've enjoyed for a long damn time.
It shifts the power. It's really how they view it.
And so if we have a way to help put the lawmakers in place that are pro digital assets, pro, everything that we kind of hold dear right now as investors in cryptocurrencies and NFTs, what could be bad about that?
Right.
And that's what 3.0 DAO is in place to do. And I appreciate that. I just basically want to say thank you for coming up with this, because it's an awesome idea.
Well, thank you. And yeah, we had to go through. So I was, I don't want to admit it because, now it's really going to be like, people are going to be like, look at this guy over here. Right, so I was a member with Olympus DAO. I was a member with Wonderland Time and all these different DAOs and everything. And so we really looked at what they were doing, and we kind of got an opportunity to pick what they did wrong and try to fix it. With them.
Okay.
But yeah, it's something that's important to us. Like, just anecdotally, I have a neighbor who literally just, if I'm being 100% honest, she and I have talked maybe 5 times, but leading up to this conversation we had, I guess probably back in April. So she actually was going to work on the Facebook coin that they were making, kind of like the Facebook backed crypto that ended up going under and they ended up not doing. And then she got pulled on by a major bank, and her job right now is to create a stable coin for that bank and go through what that looks like, how that can work. So these organizations are doing this, whether we hear about it or not. One of the things that you had mentioned was, this is kind of going on right now. We kind of hear the big details, but I get updates probably realistically once every week and a half from the lobbies about, hey, this committee had this discussion, or this group came in and talked to this committee, or this financial committee was talking with this group. And so what you start to find out is that these conversations are actively happening. And so the opportunity is, we're still on the ground room floor, like, back in January, December, November, you always go, you're early, right? In this case, you really are. There still is an opportunity for this. And we kind of play off of the idea or concept, and I think you were kind of hinting at it even, but it's easier for us to create the rules than it is for us to change them. Because what's going to happen is they're going to make that rule, and they want to see how it works for the next 5 years before they would really say, oh no, that's a bad rule, or that's not something that's functioning properly here. And so getting involved early is really, really important for us, because we're still early enough that we can actually set some of the changes in there. And like I said, we're connected through a couple of our coalitions with groups like the Blockchain Association. I'd love to tell you exactly what every one of them, I can't remember, but you can look it up as Koala, but COALA is another group. I cannot remember what their formal name is. I always just call them Koala. But they're another organization that they work with blockchain and promoting blockchain advocacy from there. And so I think that's really kind of the key message, is that there's still time. It's not over for us, but if we continue to sit on our hands or say, hey, I'm not going to worry about that right now, or someone else will take care of that, It's one of those situations where quickly it becomes December, and then it becomes, January, and the new Congress is sworn in, and next thing you know is they're making rules, and we're fighting against the rules that are already made, as opposed to the rules that are kind of in that formation. And that's kind of what we're hearing from our lobby, and we're hearing from our groups right now, is that they don't really expect any major legislation besides possibly the stablecoin bill to be acted on in 2022. They do think that as soon as we bridge over after the election in 2023, that they're going to hit the ground running, because that could potentially be a big push for their campaigns and everything starting in the 2024 election cycle, which we of course know basically starts 8 months after 8 months after they're elected in. So
yeah, I want to talk about this stablecoin bill because that's something that's near and dear to my heart. But George, is there anything going on in the chat that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, yep. Can you just confirm you can hear me? Is that okay? Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, that's great. Yep, there's just a couple on here. We can get through these quickly. Richard Awad, he's just asked, what about XRP being the money mover for stocks, governments, and crypto?
So I think what you're going to find with XRP, I think that's going to be a good one. I think that we'll see what happens with the SEC. I'm hoping that they win. That would be great. I think that what you're going to kind of find though with XRP, and I own XRP, so don't take me as XRP hater, because I'm really not. I actually do like it. I think it's a great pathway. I would like to see that be used more with the banks, and be something that's used more within that side, so we didn't have to use all the stablecoin side. I'm not really sure how they're going to interact together, because I think that a lot of what we're hearing in the United States, and I know over in Europe, they tend to like XRP a little bit better, and tend to be favoring it a little bit more for their transactions. In the United States, I don't know that they're really going to act on it until after the SEC makes their decision on whether or not it's a security or not. And that's really the big concern there, is whether or not it's going to become a security within that. And then what will happen from there is that it'll then attribute value similarly like what you'd see with a stock or something like that. But I don't know that they're going to ever use it as a currency. But I could see it being used for transactions across borders. But again, I'm not sure how they're going to mesh that with the stable coins, because I know that most likely any bank-backed stable coins are going to be locked into a CBDC in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So I don't know that they're going to want us to have a little bit of that freedom with the XRP, but I'll look into that, and I'll see what I can find a little bit more on it. But I know within the United States, we're kind of in a holding pattern until that gets figured out with SEC, which I hope they win. I think they're going to win. I think they have a good case, but
yeah, fingers crossed, it's looking positive. Thanks, Randy. One other one. This is from Ryan Mac 87. Is there any way on how the community can help you guys in support of what you're doing?
Well, I mean, always, the simplest way is purchase 3.0 token. I mean, of course. And then from there, being active. One of the things that, I'm not throwing anybody in our community under the bus, but we have a lot of investors. We don't have a lot of active, big time active community members out there and like kind of really pushing the fight on Twitter and everything like that. They're growing. We're getting more and more out there right now. But because we kind of got wrapped up, we launched literally right before the bear market hit. Had we used my technical signals, we would have held, a little bit longer, right? But then, that bear market hit pretty bad, and a lot of investors kind of got wiped out. And so we have people that are kind of coming back and they're like, oh, hey, I haven't looked at my crypto in 6 weeks. So or 6 months now, what's going on? We're like, well, here's all the things that we've done. And they're like, oh, wow, that's great. And so they'll come out and argue. But yeah, as a community, it's really getting the word out there about 3.0. It's really getting out there and kind of being active within, right now, it's really the social side of it. Twitter, your getting in on different telegrams, you can join our telegram, everything like that, and just kind of getting the message out there, because I think a lot of people just don't know, it's one of those things where it's always a fight for visibility. And so the more people that hear about us, I think that almost everybody in this space is behind our mission. I don't think that there's a lot that wouldn't be. So I think it's just really getting that message out there that, hey, this is the things we're doing. And then the number one thing that anybody can do after they've purchased their governance token is vote, because if your vote's not being heard, then we don't know. And, you hear that all the time for regular elections, but really with the governance side of it, vote for things. If you don't like this or you don't like that, we need to hear about that, because that makes it easier for us to make a better decision. And then when we go and push that towards through the lobbyists to the different groups on Capitol Hill, it makes a big difference, because one of the things that you'll always know, and you can look across with anything that's going on, is look at everything that gets done because there's enough community members that say we want it. Big money does play a role within politics, and it doesn't matter what country you're in. There's always going to be that. But if you have enough people that are behind a mission or behind a goal or behind something, they'll shift their tune, they'll change their message, they'll align with that, because their number one thing that they're worried about is getting elected. So so they'll shift that. And so it's really about getting that voice out there and then moving forward from there.
Okay. Cheers, Randy.
Yeah, no problem.
Was that it, George?
Yeah, that's it for now. We can come back to if there's any more questions, Trevor, a little bit later. I can them through.
So I'm looking at the Chad father, who you might be familiar with, Randy.
Yes, yeah. He's
Also
actually
in
one of
the
our,
chat.
he got elected to the Prioritization Council. So shout out to Chad.
Good for you, Chad. And he's talking about one token, one vote. Now that doesn't mean for every token you own, you have a vote, does it?
No, one wallet.
It means all
Basically,
you
if
need
hold
is
it,
one token.
one wallet. Yeah, one vote goes for one per wallet that you're holding with it. Now, granted, I mean, I guess you could send 10,000 wallets and have one token in each one and have 10,000 votes. But if anybody really wants to make 10,000 wallets, then hopefully we'll have 10,000 people that'll counteract any negative or illicit things. But yeah, no, it's one-to-one wallet wise, and we felt that the one-to-one for wallet was important to keep that democratic process, because I don't know if you follow some of the larger DAOs, but there are some groups that, 3 people can come in and they can shift the entire vote because they hold, $10 million worth of that token. And it's like, oh, boom, They have all the money. And that's what we wanted to eliminate. Being that we work with regulations, we work with advocacy, we're working with politics. It was also important that big money couldn't come in and shift the vote on the people. Because, what would there be to say, let's say if it was all token based, so one token equaled one vote instead of one wallet equals one vote. Let's say you have $20 million and I have $500 and I have 20 friends that have $500. Well, all of us go in and vote, and you can come in and you can outvote us like hands down. That wouldn't even be close, right? And so we wanted to eliminate that. And so what happens by going one-to-one is that everybody's equal within that. So it doesn't matter if you're a Prioritization Council member, it doesn't matter if you're one of the Advocacy Council group, which is the top 100s, or if you're just a brand new member who signed up yesterday, everybody's vote is equal to one another.
So I believe Chad is replying back to me, and he says, hi, Travis. I'm not sure who Travis is. Somebody kick Chad out of here. No worries, Chad. It's Trev, but that's all right. We'll get to know each other. All right, Randy. So all right, now I don't know how aware you are, but I have been working since this crash of the Terra Luna debacle,
Right.
I've been working as much as I could with whatever I have to push out the information coming from the Terra Rebels, who are the group that have been rewriting the code and trying to save Luna Classic, LUNC. And I was not I was barely aware of Luna before the crash, I'll be honest with you. Once it happened, everybody knew about it.
Right.
And that's when I invested. So now we're all very educated on what happened with this stable coin.
Yep.
And how it tore everything to pieces.
Yeah.
And it was actually even mentioned in this this latest thing that we got from that went to the White House. I'm blanking right now, but you know what I'm talking about. Basically this report that they got back to the White House on what we should do. It was actually mentioned. That's how big it was, to the point where I think they're almost trying to use it as leverage, kind of to say, see, this is what happens with stable coins.
Well, yeah, what they're trying to do, and you'll find it in the stablecoin bill, since that's kind of is they're actually trying to ban any algorithm-backed stablecoin, and they want it really. So I don't know if you got to read the version when they put it out, and then they retracted it basically back in August. The first stablecoin bill they put it out there, then they took it back because they wanted to revamp it. But written in there was that they really only wanted the stablecoins backed by FDIC insured groups, which you know who those are. Those are the banks. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's really what they wanted, and that's they have used. They used the example there with Luna and the stablecoin as their reasoning. That was the reason behind. Oh well, you saw what happened there. It lost all these people all this money and blah blah blah. So basically, they're using that as their almost weaponizing it as this is what happens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is how crypto
Not
is.
almost, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, and so that's what it is. And so yeah, right now, I believe it's the newest one that they're forming. So right now, where the barrier is, and the reason it hasn't come out yet, is they're trying to figure out the balance between allowing the states to regulate who can have a stable coin and who can't versus the federal government having that opportunity. So they're kind of figuring that side out. But they right now have a ban on any algorithm-backed stable coins right now. Is kind of where they're at. They want you basically to say that you can't have any more stable coin, like you can't have any more coins than what you have backed by assets. And they would prefer that they be backed again by FDI. You need to be FDIC insured. So almost like you need to become a bank, or you need to somehow get to where they can verify that that's how many assets you have, and that's moving forward, which is a big shock to the crypto system, because a lot of stable coins were back to that algo backed and had that situation there. But yeah, they're definitely weaponizing the situation with Luna to show why crypto is dangerous and why the average user can't have it. And what I think a lot of times that they're not looking at is the situations that led up to it. It's more of a let's react as opposed to let's see why, or let's research for why it happened.
Well, they don't really care why it happened. Like you said, they're weaponizing it. They're using it to push their agenda. It was very convenient for them.
Right.
What happened, it seems, very inconvenient for other people.
Yeah.
How imminent is this bill?
So like I said, they have kind of been going back and forth. It's imminent enough that they're at least presented. Now, keep in mind that imminent is different than going to active vote like next week. It'll still have to go through the committees, and it'll still have to be approved through that. So what we've heard is maybe the earliest they could vote would be December. And that was what I said, most likely to be 2023. But what we're kind of hearing is that we're thinking that the lobbyists are thinking early 2023, January, February at the latest was when that would go through. Because what I'll have to do is go through all the committees and everything. Now, when it comes out for us to read it, we got a notification last week that it could be out anytime. I've heard, don't hold this against me, anybody that's listening, or you either, DJ or George. I've heard tomorrow. The 29th was a date that they had set that they wanted to have it out, so that way it could be discussed. That doesn't mean it'll be out tomorrow, which is the 29th. I will know tonight at midnight when, sorry, I didn't say this right, quote unquote, winking, when it gets leaked to the media, so that way they're ready to print it by 8 a.m. and they can read it.
Okay.
And then it will be announced at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Yeah, so we tend to get things a little bit early because, and again, it's all out there. Like if you were to go on the right.gov website, it would pop up for you too. You just have to actively be able to, you just have to actively follow that. So there's no insider trading or anything that's going on when it comes to that situation. But we've heard that the 29th was kind of a date that they had pegged as one that they wanted to kind of present it on. So we'll see if it happens tomorrow. But that's what I had heard last week, was that they were kind of aiming for Thursday or tomorrow. So we'll see.
So,
yeah, tomorrow could
they
be
put this,
right?
well, yeah, the next, who knows how long, could be pretty interesting. So if they implement this and they decide, okay, we want this FDIC backed, and that's just the way it's going to be, I mean, can they just go ahead and do that? Do we have any say in that at all? If they just say this is the law now?
Yeah, I think so from what I'm reading and kind of what I've got, and I got it even from the Lummis Gillibrand bill, is there's really nothing they can do about anything that's been created on the blockchain. So what they have to do is they have to go to those on-ramps and off-ramps. And so basically what they're going to do is go to the centralized exchanges and say, you can't have any algo-backed coins. If you do, we're going to fine you, I don't know, some millions of dollars, right? And then, or they'll come in and say, oh, these are classified as this. And then you and me and everybody else here is really counting on Coinbase to say, hey, no, we're not going to accept that. Now, do we believe Coinbase is going to do that? I don't know. We'd love to say that they would, but that's really what I think is kind of their end game, is to really go to the exchanges and basically say, like, here are the things that are securities. So either you need to file with the SEC or you need to get these off of your exchanges if you want to operate within the United States. And so I think that that's kind of how they're going to do it, because I think that they've learned, I think they know enough, and they've hired enough younger people that are, our age, have an understanding of this and everything, that say, hey, you can't just say, no, we're going to close this company. But what they can do is, if you have an LLC or you have something that's operating within the United States, is they can go right to you and they can sue your company, or they can try to, fine your company enough money that it would stop you. They can go to the exchanges that want to operate in the United States, which is kind of a big one that a lot of people aren't really paying attention to, is that, like, just because your exchange or your coin or your business, your coin's business is located outside of the United States. I mean, there are thousands of stocks that are located outside the United States too, but their companies can't trade in the United States without going through all that stuff. So basically, they're going to find a way to force you to go through their either whatever their regulatory process is, so that they can check that, or keep you out of the United States, so by blocking it. And it's interesting to see. I know that the UK was talking about figuring out ways to seize and block assets from coming to your wallets and everything like that. And so, I mean, that's just, how are they going to do that? I'm sure that they have mechanisms in place that they can do that, but most of it's going to be wrapped around stablecoin, CBDC. That's going to ultimately become the off-ramp. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see down the road where they tell the Coinbases and the Binances and stuff like, hey, everything has to be transferred to this coin for them to take it off and put it in their bank account. And those groups either comply or lose all their money. And when you're looking at like a Coinbase, which is traded on the stock market and all of that, how long are they going to say, no, we're willing to take the $30 million fine? Or are they just going to say, oh, sorry guys, our hands are tied?
Yeah, I mean, I hope everybody is paying attention and really hearing what's going on here. Because it's very, very serious. So right now,
I don't want to be doom or gloom, but it's almost like it could become doom or gloom.
I kind of want to be doom or gloom. I mean, I kind of want, I kind of want to get this point across to everyone, because I've had this conversation with some people who I respect and who have been in the crypto, into cryptocurrencies way longer than I have.
Right.
And I've tried to bring up the fact that these regulations could really put the kibosh on everything we're planning. And everybody's like, how slow the government moves. They can only regulate it so much. This is the denial that's legitimately going on in the community. And so if I have to be doom and gloom to get everybody to pay attention and listen to what's happening, then that's what I'm going to do. I don't really care.
Yeah, definitely. Go read Gensler. Just have him read some of what Gensler says about Gensler or about crypto. That's all you have to do.
My God,
he's telling you this is what he wants. Now go listen to your Elizabeth Warrens and go listen to that. And it doesn't have to be partisan. So just because I know people hear Elizabeth Warren, they automatically think one way or the other. I'm not picking, because we're a nonpartisan. So we don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. We support anybody that supports crypto. But if you're not going to support crypto, then we don't really necessarily support you when it comes to the Web3 side. Obviously. But one of the things you'll hear from them is that it's this, we have to have user protection, we have to have all these things. They're telling you what their beliefs are about the space. When you read the White House order, that tells you what those organizations think about crypto. So you have to keep in mind, everything is going to be through those the lenses that they're giving it to us, because they're the money groups, the Treasury, the SEC, the CFTC, all of that. Those are the money groups. So they're basically going to come through and say, and relay what the message is coming through that. So you saw that in that White House paper. It was pretty much a negative tone about it overall, and that's their view of it.
Very much. So now right now, and I don't mean to hop on it, but it's kind of like the major subject with these algo stable coins. Right now, LUNC has the 1.2% burn tax in place. Okay. And everybody, well, not everybody, but I mean, a lot of people are very hopeful that that's going to do some great things for us. Yeah. But in the background, I can tell you that there are several different initiatives being formed to repeg, first off, to pay off, the bad debt on right. UST, right? But then to repeg UST to LUNC, And there are some, some initiatives that are about to come out that say, hey, if you guys really want to burn off that abundant supply of LUNC, this is the way to do it. There's swapping things happening, whatever. But the ultimate goal is to get a repeg. All the effort that is being put into these plans, it sounds like could be all for naught if they kind of get their way with this FDIC thing, right?
Yeah, so what would most likely have to happen, let's say that it was all community-based, so that there's not an LLC or an organization that owns it, right? You'd probably have to go through as a community, you'd have to set up one, and then you would have to go through and show the number of assets that you have, what it's backed by, whatever it is. And then you have to get that approval from there for it to be able to do it, or you'd have to just be and again, I don't know, the United States has such an influence on financial markets that I'm sure that they could call France, or they can call Italy, or they can call the UK, or they can call Germany and say, hey, here's what we're saying, and then those countries are gonna be like, look, we're gonna fall in line because that makes it easier. We don't have to do too much. We just follow the same regulation and do the same thing. And again, that doesn't mean they will, but they could. But what you'd see, yeah, is in the United States, they're talking 2-year ban is what I remember reading. And so that wouldn't be able to be traded within the United States for 2 years. And then you'd have to go through all the business side of it to get the backing, to get the show the assets. But you have to keep in mind with the assets, you still have to update those assets quarterly. Like every quarter, you'd have to show, like, here's what our assets are. So here's what it is. So let's say that you had, we'll go with simple numbers. So everybody, they're really easy for everybody. Let's say you had $10 million in assets. So you could have 10 million, coins at $1 each, right? Well, let's say your assets after a little bit of a bear market are down to 7. Well, now you're going to have to figure out how to get rid of the 3 million extra tokens that are out there, because you're not backed for those 3 million. You're only backed for the 7 now. And so that'll cause a lot of breakdowns, and I can see where that could cause even more volatility and depegging of different, different stable coins, just because the assets are going to fluctuate based off of what the market and what the economy is doing. So,
all right.
it doesn't mean don't. It doesn't mean don't. It just means, hey, if that's what you guys want to do, I know a group that really helps with pushing policy in in the United States.
Well, I mean, that's the whole point of this, and I'm really hoping that everybody that's watching this and everyone who's going to watch it, because it'll just be on the channel forever now, everybody who's going to watch it, and we need to keep pushing people to watch this, will jump on and find a way to support you guys. And if that's, buying some 3.0, it's cheap right now. I don't mean to put it like that, but it's cheap right now. It's 6 zeros and 6 zeros 1 6 or something like that. Last I looked.
Yeah, it is. And that's kind of, and we don't want anybody to dump whatever they have. Like, we want you guys to be able to keep whatever you have. That's great. If everybody throws in $100, that's how you kind of build over time, is because we know that some people are going to do 200, some people are going to do 500, some people are going to do 1,000, but just, whatever you have here and there, it brings you in a vote. It brings you in a kind of an opportunity to really start to have a say. And so just kind of build it in over time, whatever you can put in, do it at that time. I don't want anybody having to cut anything where they're, down 50%, but they feel really good about it, or they feel like that's going to go up. We're not saying, it needs to be or it needs to be this or that. We're saying that it can be both. I always, hopefully, none of you are Cowboy fans, because that's neither here nor there. But I remember Dion, that was always my favorite thing. Do you want 15 million? You want 20 million? And he looked at Jerry and said, I want both. Right? You remember that pizza commercial from the 90s?
Yeah, I do.
That's really what it is really get both. Because our goal and our side of it is we're really there to be community. We're community members. We're there to defend the community. We're there to really push for it. We've had a lot of positive feedback in DC about, hey, you're the only guys doing this. Like, we are the only DAO that has a super PAC in the United States that was verified by Politico. And so what we basically have seen is, if you have a little bit here, $50 there, $100 there, 200 here and there, just can, continue to come into the movement. We're using it right now. What we're really going to start to try to do, and we're going to start to put any of our tax buys over the next month or so, is trying to build an international group that basically will allow, we're going to call it it's going to be like a DAO coalition. So it's basically going to be like a DAO of DAOs. Like, think of it like the United Nations of DAOs on an international level. But that way we can bring our advocacy internationally. We do have with our lobbies, they do have international correspondents and stuff like that live throughout Europe and throughout the Middle East and different areas throughout the international space. And so, smaller DAOs, of course, can set up in other countries, come to us, and then we can help advocate for them, because really we want to push it to everybody. We know that you may be listening to this, you may be listening in New York or California, or you may all be, in Japan, you may be in Korea, you may be in, you could be in Dubai, you could be in England. There's all kinds of places that we are. So we're really here to advocate for everybody. And that's our big push is, don't dump your bags, just add what you can here and there, and make sure you have a vote and make your voice heard. Because I think that if we can develop to the point where we have an army of 20, 50, 100, 200, 300,000 people, that makes an impact. And that gets us in different doors that, to really have that impact and have that say, and really push what we want as users and what we're seeing as users as the benefits of the crypto space, and really letting the lawmakers hear that, and building, just different educational forums and stuff like that to really put that out there. So, yeah.
Yeah. George, what's going on with these guys in the chat?
Okay, so
sorry to wake you.
that's okay. You've woken me up, and Randy's giving me.
It's going to be midnight where you are, right?
Yeah, this is not good news. What's coming? Okay, so we've got Ryan Mac 87. He's asked, what is the minting pass NFT, and how does that work with a token?
Okay, so what we set up the minting pass for was we have some. We come across some groups that are NFT based. One of the big things that you hear about when we think of crypto, most of us don't think of NFTs. We kind of think of them as a separate part of crypto, but the government does not. They are classified as a digital asset, and therefore they will be most likely regulated as a digital asset. But they've been kind of nicer to NFTs right now, because NFTs have expanded utility. I don't know if you guys heard, but there's the governor of Colorado is actually using NFTs to campaign fund. I've seen people have put out, subpoenas for people on NFTs. So they have their different utility. But what we have our DAO pass is for those NFT only users or NFT only projects. You'd see our tier 3 most likely is going to be project based. It's going to be someone that would be like, let's say, if the, just to use an example, if the Luna group wanted to, hey, we want to have a vote as a community, they would buy that pass, and then they automatically have that. The tier 1 and the tier 2, what those are the tier 2 is going to give you a governance vote, and it's going to give you the opportunity to just have that without having the token. The tier 1 is also provides you with an extra governance vote. So instead of just a 1-to-1 wallet, you'd have a 2-to-1 wallet. So every wallet you'd have 2 votes if you have the pass in there. But what this really does is, as we progress forward, our big plans are to bring and have these governmental, these political figures come in and talk and have these conversations directly with the community. And so this is kind of going to be our gate pass that basically allows them in. So as they get the NFT DAO pass or anything like that, they'll be able to get into those meetings. As we have different opportunities, whether it is as fun as, hey, we all went to Crypto Dubai and we had a great time and we're going to have an after party, use your NFT to come in, all the way to we have a fundraiser that we're doing in DC. And this will be your pass to get in. And so basically what that does is give you kind of those extra benefits that go along with it. It gives you an extra vote. And then as you go up, it just depends. But like I said, the tier 3, we tend to have more oriented towards like a project or a collective that would like to do that. The tier 2 are more for the users that are just NFT focused. That's basically what they have, but they want to have that access. They want to have that governance vote. They want to be able to come in through there. And then the tier 1 are basically added. So you'll also see they do have a feature in next year's vote for the council. The passes will also be used as part of the requirement to be on the Prioritization Council. You'll also see within, if you check out the medium that we have on it, as the Advocacy Council gets established, you'll see that members that have different levels of the passes will have the ability to bring those proposals to us, as we talked about earlier, so that the Prioritization Council can put them to vote for the DAO. So yeah, they have some quality aspect to it. Mainly what it's going to do is provide you some, it's almost like a backstage pass, like some backdoor entrances to events and to sit downs with political leaders.
Okay. Thanks, Randy. Just one more, DJ Trev. Travis Taylor's already answered this, but I'll just cover it on here, just so it's on your sort of live chat in case anybody watches tomorrow or in the future.
Oh, was that the Travis he was saying hi to? I thought he was talking to me.
No, that's what you're laughing at. On here. No.
Sorry, Chad. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Matt, Crypto Dream, he asked the question, has 30H been audited? So yeah, Travis has come back and said, yeah, you've been audited by TechRate shortly after launch.
Yep, and we have that. It should be up on the webpage. If it's not, I'll get our Web 2 dev to make sure that it goes up there with the audit. Yes, we've done a TechRate audit. So already, yeah.
Thank you.
Randy, when you guys have these get-togethers, in like Washington D.C. or whatever, I mean, do you ever have a DJ? Because I know a guy.
Well, let me tell you, when we put it together, I know who to call then.
Do I need to get one of these? I might need one of these passes first, right?
Right. Yeah, we know who to call then. So yes, we will.
Absolutely. Give me
we'll come knocking, my friend.
That's right down the East Coast for me. I'm already here.
Yeah.
George, what are you drinking, George?
It's not champagne. It's bubbly rosé wine. Yes, it's 10 past 11 here in the UK.
All times of day, morning, night. It's always champers, as he calls it. Yeah. All right, Randy, is there any, I don't want to hold any longer. My goodness, the information that you gave us is unbelievable, but now we have to digest it all.
Yep.
It really is great. I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm so happy for you to be able to relay this information to us. And I hope that we're going to keep going, maybe with the, as different things get developed. You're always welcome to come on. Is there anything else you want to chat about, or anything else you want to mention before we go?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, like I said, if you have the time, or it's something that's interesting to any of the listeners out there, definitely, check us out on 30DAO.com. Feel free to, we're right now, probably easiest place to buy is on Uniswap. You can click the link right through there. And then hopefully we'll continue to build and continue to grow from here. That's kind of our goal. I'm sure you and I will be talking about stablecoin bills, whenever that comes out. If it's tomorrow, it could be sooner rather than later, right? But yeah, I think that's the big key, and the big message that we want to push is that this really isn't something we want to wait on. It's not something that we want to wait until they put the rules out there, they put what they want to do out there. Because again, once it gets on paper and it starts to go through the committees and starts to get approved through the committees, our road gets a little bit harder to hoe. So it's one of those things where it's like, the earlier we do it, the more input we can have and the more change we can kind of create that's going to be beneficial to all of us. And to you guys in the future that maybe want to build your own project or want to go out and something that, is that opportunity for you. I think that's an important aspect of it. I think that's, everybody wants to move out of the 9 to 5 and kind of have their own opportunities. And I think that Web3 is going to do that. I mean, you go back and look. Some of us are younger, some of us are a little bit older, some of us, can remember the 90s and can remember the early 2000s. But, those companies that were coming out and doing the internet early and getting on there early, they really are a big advantage. Like, what's Google? Like, really, what was Google before the internet? Well, there's going to be something that's going to do that. There's going to be projects that are just like that come over here into the Web3 space. So it's up to us as users to protect it, because otherwise, you're going to find governments, you're going to find regulatory bodies and stuff. They're going to want to make it into something that they understand and that they know, which is going to look just like the stock market. And, we already know how that goes. We already know, we all know about Citadel. We all know about those different groups, right? And we don't even have to be really cued into the stock market, because we know that the big hedge funds come in, they make the decisions, they make the calls, they run the algorithms. The next thing you know is hopefully we get in and out in between the waves, right?
Yeah.
So that's our big message, and hopefully we'll be on more to talk to you guys and have a few more conversations soon. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have to keep having this conversation. Randy, who are our advocates right now? Who are we looking at in this next election cycle? Who's on board? Who's helping us out?
So we have quite a few right now. The ones that you're really seeing that are active and active out there are usually a little bit more of our independents. So like I know that if you're in Utah and you're in District 4, your January Walker is going to be one. She's pushing really, really hard for that. When you're looking across the board, so that have been pretty positive towards things. And again, take a look at you can always take a look at our group or our ranking system. But yeah, your Ted Cruz, most of the people out of Texas have been pretty positive. You're going to normally find it based off your state. Anybody out of Wyoming, they love crypto. That's where you make your DAOs, right? So Senator Lummis, Senator Gillibrand, they're great advocates for it. I believe Pat Toomey is another one that's been a really big advocate for it. Rand Paul's been another one. And so they're out there. There's definitely quite a few. Those are just off the top of my head. There's quite a few out there that are really pushed for this. But I think when they start to look at the social impacts that this can have, you're going to find that both parties, like this shouldn't be a partisan thing. It really should be an open-ended to what it does. Because when you look at the social impact that we can have with digital assets, and we can look at creating these opportunities through to bridging to communities that don't necessarily have access to a lot of banks, rural communities, things like that, and don't have a lot of place to store their money. This is an opportunity for them that we can really build on that. So I think you'll start to see that the positive sides to it are there. Is really making sure that the regulation side doesn't become too heavy-handed, because we know it's going to come, and doesn't stifle that innovation and that growth you're seeing from business creators and everything. But yeah, definitely check it out. And we have it updated usually once a month, so you'll be able to see what their rankings are, and we'll continue to do that. And when the stable coin bill comes out, we'll see who our advocates are and who aren't. So.
Well, yeah, we'll have to go to your ranking system and see, because you guys are out there voting, whatever districts you're in, go to this ranking system and see who it is actually supporting us. And again, I'm not a huge political guy, but of the names I think you just mentioned, maybe some independents and some Republicans, I don't know that I heard a Democrat.
There are some. Like I said, that's just off the top of my head. Those are people that I've read, recently, and have been kind of putting the bills out. Within that, I know that there's quite a few that have been working on trying to do it. Actually, what's interesting is most of the bills. So the stablecoin bill is a bipartisan bill. So there's going to be a Democrat and a Republican that are both leading it. Lummis Gillibrand bill it has bipartisan support too. And so I think that, yeah, it really is just highlighting the ones. Like I know for me, I know with the ranking system, Senator Walker out of Virginia, I think that's his last name is. He's not, or no, not Walter. Who is? I can't. It just slipped my mind. I literally just had it. But yeah, my guys are not. They're not the most crypto friendly coming out of Virginia, and so I'm like, come on, guys. Like, I'm gonna have to come down and talk to you guys. We just live down the road, and that kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna have to really kind of see, and like I said, we're even going to start building into where your state systems are in there. So we're going to have a little bit more of that information. So people that are voting on state levels, state sides of government, and then as we continue to build and continue to grow, and as more and more votes take place, we'll even look down through municipalities, so cities and places like that, and see how they're voting with using it and utilizing these digital assets for the benefits of their community. So yeah.
So does the whole landscape change with a change in administration?
I think that again, it's really going to be their view of what they think, because some of them, we're going to say that they're more pro crypto, or they're more pro digital asset, but when you actually read their information and stuff like that, you actually find no, they're not. Like again with the stablecoin side of it, some of the stablecoin builds, some people are like, that's great, it's going to have that regulation side, but then when you look at it from the side of like, they're banning algo-backed stable coins, and that only certain ones are going to be approved, you can see where that can be kind of heavy-handed. So it's really going to be dependent on how they're voting, what they're voting for, and really it's the more votes we get, the better our grading system will be. Right now, there's just been so few votes on it that you're basically going off of their remarks, you're going off of what they've said about it, and then what they voted on recently when it comes to these different groups and different bills. What you'll find is that as more and more votes get on the table, more and more votes come out, and you have to show what you're voting and who you're voting for, we'll be able to kind of pinpoint really who are our advocates versus who are not our advocates. So
how do I get to the ratings? We're looking at the website right now. How do I get there?
Check and see if it's in that drop down menu on your top right.
Well, I've got to move everybody's faces in my way.
No,
join the Discord. All right, so
I'll get it added. I think it must have been slipped when we rebranded about 45 days ago. So I'll make sure that button, that quick button, drops down so you guys can.
It'll be here in the drop down. Okay, yeah, make it easy, because that's probably going to be a really big one for people.
Yep. No, they'll like that part. So
yeah. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. George, always thank you for your help. Randy, it's been a pleasure meeting you. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. To everyone that joined in the chat, thank you very much for coming and listening. please share not only this video, but share everything that you can about 3.0 DAO on Twitter, Facebook, you know, whatever. Send mail to your parents. Do whatever you can to get the word out about these guys, and do what you can to support them, because supporting them is kind of supporting us, really. If you're invested in any kind of digital asset.
Yep.
All right, so that's it. I'm gonna let you go. You're new to the channel, Randy, so you don't understand how we do this. But George, what do we do at the end here?
We go.
Fist bump.
Fist bump.
Fist bump.
All right, sounds good.
All right, guys.
All right, thanks for having me.
All
guys.
right,
Thanks for
everybody,
joining,
have a
George.
great night. Thanks again.